You're not in trouble, Tessa, Dad is. Today I want to just share with you a very simple story, a very simple message, because one of the professors I had at seminary really struck this home to me. And folks, what happens in that front row down here, I really pray makes a difference in these kids' lives. And it's fun to do that because when I talk at a child level, all of you are with me. And we have to have enough of Jesus at a kid's level in order to make church worthwhile. We always, as pastors, tend to make it too theological, too complicated. It's really pretty simple. And so really, at Christmas, what is the Christmas gift? We always think about the shiny things that go under the tree, and the boxes, and the toys, and the gadgets. But if you look in the background, the real gift came in the form of a baby. And that baby was Jesus. And He is God, and He was God. But as we look at the Christmas season, I wanted to talk today about the gift that keeps on giving. And there's a lot of things connected to that aren't necessarily very Christian. But isn't it nice to be able to give something that it doesn't just end there? It just keeps going. And that's what God did. He gave us Jesus, that gift. And He is the gift that keeps on giving. And why do we give gifts? You know, I was talking to the kids earlier, but this is more for you adults because I don't know how many of you struggle with Christmas shopping and giving gifts at Christmas time. It's probably a gender thing. The rest of you guys have kind of an issue with that. I keep telling myself that that's my excuse, but why do we give gifts? I think sometimes, well, if I don't, there's that guilt reason that I give gifts. Well, that's what husbands are supposed to do. That's what dads are supposed to do. That's what kids are supposed to do. And I just have to do it. And so that's one of the reasons. Do you think God did that because of His guilt? I don't. Out of obligation. Well, it's expected. You know, what if they don't get a gift from me this year? Well, they always get a gift. We always get one. But there's a sense of obligation. And then tradition. And as I talked to the kids, we did most of our gifts on Christmas Eve. We opened them. And being the typical hyper kid that I was, the parsonage was right next door to the church. And so after the Christmas Eve service, Dad would stand around and talk to everybody. And I wanted to get home because we had important things to do, like open up all the gifts. And so in my wisdom, I thought, I can speed this process up. And so while Dad was greeting everyone out of the church, I went home next door to the parsonage, and I went under the tree and got all the gifts out from under the tree. And I had a pile for Mom, and a pile for my sister Cheryl, a pile for Dad, and my pile. So that when we came home, we didn't need to waste time digging through the packages, figuring out whose was. Don't you think that was a good idea? Didn't work. Mom and Dad came home, and I had to take them all and put them underneath the Christmas tree and mix them all up. And then we had to sit and listen to the Christmas story. And Dad read extra chapters that night. And then we thought we'd eat something before we opened our gifts. I never did that again. But it's tradition, right? And so sometimes giving is nothing more than that. Sometimes we actually give gifts because you need them. And that's a beautiful thing if there's actually a need. Isn't it sad in our society today, what in the world do you give somebody if they've got everything? And I don't think there's very many people in this room that really need anything for Christmas. And yet, sometimes we do give gifts. And we find needy people that don't have a home or don't have a meal. What a great time to share that. But the main reason that we want to give gifts is because we love. we love people. And as we think about all of the Bible story or Bible verses, which is the one that's memorized the most? 3:16, right? It used to be, and whenever there was a football, extra point kick, there was somebody in the end zone or behind the end zone that held up their 3:16 sign. And when Tim Tebow, the greatest quarterback ever, played, he had John 3:16. That's the only reason I switched to the Broncos, guys. I hated the Broncos until they got Tebow. But 3:16, what was that all about? Because you look around and it is everywhere. And so read with me, you all know it. And so I have you read because this is the old King James, because this is the what I memorized, and most of us did. But let's read it together. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Isn't that a cool verse? The whole gospel is really summed up in that one verse. And if you start digging into it, God loved the world so much. Now, is the world a place that deserves love? Does our world today deserve God's love? The way we're bickering and fighting and carrying on and shooting at each other and calling names and killing and all of this stuff. And yet God saw all of that dirt, all that crud, and he loved it. He didn't love the awful things, but he loved the people of the world. And he loved so much that he gave. It's a good measure. Well, I love so-and-so. Do you love them enough to give them something? Do you love them enough to sacrifice? God loved enough that he gave. For God so loved the world that he gave. And what did he give? What did he give? What did he give? He gave his Son. And man, there's something between a dad and a son that is just special. And to be able to think that God, the Father, gave his Son. And man, that level of love is off the charts. But not just that, but his only Son. If he had 20 or 30, well, I can spare one. And even that isn't true. It doesn't matter how many sons you have. But he only had one, and he gave him because he loved that much. And why? To allow us to avoid eternal death. That they might not perish, but have everlasting life. What a phenomenal motivation and what a gift that he gave. Now, if God gave us that gift, the question now is, what am I going to do with the gift that God gave me? Because I've been gifted with God's only Son. I can keep it to myself and say, oh, I am very special. I am of the chosen people. I'm going to be forever in heaven. I can keep it to myself. Or I can put it away and never use it. And sometimes we get gifts and we put them away and never use them. Is that what we should do with Jesus? Well, it's handy to have him. It's fire insurance. So I won't be sent down to hell, but I'm going to never use it. I'm just going to keep that in my safe deposit box. Or I could choose to live in it. How would I do that? How did Jesus live? In obedience to his Father, with love to his people, with caring for people that were downtrodden and sick. He was always with the lepers and the blind and the poor, with the ones that the society had kicked out. And we can live it, and we can become the gift itself by giving it. We can give that gift. What's the gift? Jesus. So I need to be willing to give Jesus to the people that I'm around, especially at Christmas time. Now, what do I have to give? I can say, well, I'm going to give Jesus, but that's kind of theological, isn't it? How do I go about doing that? But I bet I can find something that everybody at some point in this group would have. Some of you have money, and you can help out people financially by giving them help with things that they can't afford. How about time? Guaranteed, every one of you has 24 hours a day. I'm not going to say how much you use for yourself or for your job or for your kids, but could I give my time to somebody that I love? That's a sacrifice. Most of us live by our daytimers, and it's not an easy thing. But we can give our time. How about attention? There's a lot of people that don't want anything more than attention. I love to substitute down in Sortie when I sub-teach. Kids come around and they're always just seem to be so friendly with me. But as I watch, there aren't a lot of adults down there that pay attention to the kids. And when you can look at them and say, how you doing? How's it going? How'd that test go? Whatever, and you listen to their stories. What do you plan on doing when you graduate from school? Well, they don't hesitate a minute to tell me. They're dying for attention. And in a very real sense, that's showing them that I love. How about your skills? Some of us have hobbies that are skills. Some have jobs that are. Our home was built by you people. We had people that were electricians and plumbers and septic people, and they came and they gave of their skill set to allow us to live in the house that we live in. You were being Jesus to Beth and to me and to our family. How about acceptance? Well, you can't come to this church until you do this and this and this and this. Or do we accept people into our church? I hope that there is nobody that could walk through that back door that would not be welcome here. We have to have that acceptance of all people. Now, it goes back to the same thing that John 3:16 says. God so loved the world. Was there anything bad in the world? Absolutely. And God loved them anyway. Now, there is nobody in this room that doesn't have dark spots in our lives too. And God loved us anyway. So how dare us not love other people because of the dark spot of theirs that happens to be different than my dark spot? We need to be careful on that. And more than anything, I can love. And I can love enough to give. Now, who do I give it to? Do I just go down the street? First of all, I give love to God because He is the source of life itself. He has me in relationship with Him, so I'm going to return that love. How about family? I love Christmas time because there is so much family, and we need to share that love with our family. Our parents, our kids, our cousins, whatever. Other believers. I love being with you people, and yet I can't just only be with you people. I have to get out. Our friends, wherever those friends are, not necessarily those that come to church on Sunday morning at the same gathering that we do. How about our co-workers, the people that we rub shoulders with every day? Now this is fun. How about enemies? Jesus was all about that. Love your enemies. Bless those that curse you. Give to those, if your enemy's thirsty, give them something to drink. Healthy. But give them something to drink and cover them and go with them an extra mile. Even those people that don't deserve the thing. They are enemies. But God, you don't understand. Yes, I do. And Jesus hanging on a cross said, Father, forgive them, even His enemies, for they don't know what they're doing. But we need to forgive our enemies, and we need to forgive the people and show love to the people that hurt us. That's probably one of the toughest things because God is just, right? So I want to be like God, so I want to be just and fair. Life isn't fair, and we shouldn't try to impose that on other people. But we're to give them love. If they give us hurt, let's give them love back. Why? How many of you moms have used that term when a child turns to you and says, well, why do I have to do that? And mom has said, because I said so. Any of you ever use that line? Anyone ever have that line used on you? All of us should have. Both ends. But why do we love? Because God said to. But also, we need to share love because it can show people that we are Christians, we're believers. There's a difference in people that follow Christ and people that don't. And love should be that distinguishing feature. Remember back when I was in youth group, and I was young once. But we had that song, "They will know we are Christians by our love, by our love." Really? They will know we're Christians because we're involved in all the church fights. They'll know we're Christians because we're tied up in the courts of law. But they'll know we're Christians because we love. And so that they can see Jesus at work in us. There's a real temptation to show love to other people so everybody will think that we're loving and what a nice person he is or she is. We're to do that because people can see Jesus and not us. We should just be a pointer and not the point. We shouldn't be the object of people's attention. We should be drawing people's attention to Jesus himself. And I show love and give this love of Jesus to others so they can receive the gift too. God gave it to me, I don't want it to stop. It's the gift that keeps on giving, so I want to share it with somebody else. And then they can share it with somebody else. You want to know how to really make a difference? Spend a lot of time with a few people. Jesus did that. He did a lot of preaching to big groups, but there were 12 that he worked with. And even Jesus didn't keep all 12. One of those even chose not to follow him. But if he got 12 that were really sold out to him, and he gave himself to them in that love, and then each of them goes out and works with 2 or 3, you sit down, it doesn't take long to cover the entire world with the message of Jesus. And we share that gift with them so that they can share it with others, that it will keep on going and keep on giving. And so as we reach this time of Christmas, Houston, we have a problem. Anybody like that movie? I remember when it wasn't a movie, when it was a real thing. It was scary. And those astronauts clear out there at the moon and there's a problem. And I'm telling you, I'll do all this love and show this love to other people. Houston, we have a problem. Every wedding that I do, I'll read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, that love chapter of the Bible. I'll share that with the couple. And then I'll always tell them the problem is you don't have that kind of love in you. And it's exactly that same problem here. It can't be done. You and I cannot love to that level. It can't be. It's impossible. Humanly, it is not, we are not capable of that. I can decide I want to, I can try, but I will fail, and you will too. None of us have that ability to love that deeply and that completely. That's only God. And that's that word from the Greek, agape. It's God love. We can't have that on our own. The problem is God can, and then we can let God live in us. And if God is in us, then the love that comes out isn't from me. It's God's love. It's in spite of me. And so we can, regardless of our problems and regardless of my inability to share, if I let God live in me enough, that love's going to ooze out and affect other people. What a phenomenal time to have that happen during this Christmas season. Think about all the people that, Christmas is a tough time. We prayed for Ainer this morning who lost his wife, and they have 2 kids, and they've lost kids, and I'm sure they've got grandchildren. I'm not sure about that, but I think they do. And Elena's sitting back there, just lost her mom this last month, and first Christmas without mom. And each one of you, there are tough things that are there, and we need to be sharing love with people that are hurting during this Christmas season. And so, as we reach the end, this is it. Jesus is the gift that keeps on giving. God gave him to us. We are to give him to others, who will give it to others, who will give it to others. That gift has been giving for 2,000 years, and we dare not let it stop now. Let's continue to share that gift that keeps on giving with others at this Christmas time. Would you stand with me, please? Our Heavenly Father, again, as we approach the end of our service, we thank you for being with us. Thank you for giving us the gift of Jesus. Forgive us for the times when we've stuck him off in a corner and not shown him in our lives, not shared him with others like we should have. But I ask that you'd give us strength and confidence and courage that we can do it. We admit that we don't have the love we need, but you can give us the love that is you, and then we can share that with other people. And I just thank you for this Christmas season and for each person here. Ask your blessing on them and on their home that they represent. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And we do have